welcome back. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add a guard. So a guard is something that lets you not visit certain paths in your app. So in Password Keeper, we had a guard, but it was kind of like a manual, like everybody had to implement it themselves. But there is a way with Angular that you can kind of like have a guard that you can just apply to a whole bunch of people. And the guard that we're going to add is for to make sure that they're authenticated, right? So make sure that you're signed out. And then once you're signed out, you can still actually go to all post, and it just says main works. And you go to my post and it says my post works. And you can of course go to the naked domain, and it says main works there. And so even though you would really need to be signed in to get these places, right now you can go everywhere, regardless of whether you're signed in or not, right? And so we want to fix that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make something called an Auth Guard. And so here's what we want to do. So I want to make sure that I'm in my services folder again. Looks like I'm not actually in my services folder because I've since closed things down. And then from my services folder, I want to do an ngg guard. So this is another type of thing you can ngg. If you wanted to learn more about what you can ngg, there's a bunch of different options, right? So here's kind of some of your options. So you can do components or directives or pipes or services or classes or guards. So this is the one we're doing now. Interfaces, enums, and modules. So we're going to say ngg, so generate a guard for me called the Auth Guard. So you can go ahead and generate the Auth Guard. And you can see that it made a new file for me inside the services area. Guards are special types of services, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put it into my services folder. And it said it was generated but not provided. Well, we know what to do with that warning. So we've got this auth.guard.ts. Kind of funny that we've got an auth.service and an auth.guard. Could have named them different, but that's their names, right? So we have this auth.guard. Put my trailing comma on there. And then auto import it. So this guard, it's going to be used in the app routing module. And what we're going to do is we're going to protect the main component and the my post components with this guard. I'd planned to do this in a different order, but I guess I can go ahead and do it now since I'm here. And what we're going to do is we're going to say can activate. And can activate gets an array. And it's going to get the auth guard. And then of course I'm going to need to import that. And so we want an auth guard on the main component, so you can only get there under special cases. We also want an auth guard under my post, so you can only get there if you're signed in. But sign in, of course, anybody can go to that, otherwise you couldn't get signed in. And then the redirect I don't care about because it's going to just redirect to here, and then it'll get the auth guard, which will be fine. So that's what we're going to do. And so now let's go look at this file that got created for us, this auth.guard file. And you can see there's got this function which has kind of got a lot going on here. So it's receiving two parameters. So it's called can activate. It's receiving two parameters. It's receiving next and state. So it's given some things. And it has to return, this is a mouthful, it has to return either a Boolean, so I'm kind of starting at the right, working my back, a promise to return a Boolean, or an observable to return a Boolean. And so one of those things has to be returned. And what it does is it says true or false for whether you're allowed to go there. So really quickly, if we saved it now, it's always returning true. And so your app, you can go into my post, and it would take you to these places successfully. So it says my post works, and then there's all post, and you can see that you can get back and forth just fine. If you were to change this to false, so this would say that you're never allowed to navigate, and so it'd say, user's not signed in. I'd try to go to my post, and it wouldn't work, and all post and it wouldn't work. It's because I can't go anywhere, right? Now, interestingly, when you type in the URL, it has a slightly different behavior, but oh well, it won't let you navigate is the point. And that slightly different behavior when somebody types in a URL is the reason that I like to actually manually navigate them if they're not allowed to be here. So instead of just returning false, I would actually navigate them to the sign-in page as well. So let's implement a guard in kind of a cheater fun way. And this cheater fun way that we're going to do is we're just going to randomly decide whether they're allowed to get through or not. So we'll say math.random. And if it's less than 0.5, then we'll let them pass. And if not, we'll punt them. So if it's less than that, we'll say true. And if it's not, we'll say false. And just saying false isn't really enough. You kind of have to, in case they typed in the URL, you kind of have to actually manually route them elsewhere, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add the router on here, just so I can kind of really punt them good, right? So router, and whenever I return false, I'm going to also say this.router.navigate, and I'm going to punch you over to the sign-in page. I guess I should actually put a slash on that as well. All right, so now when you get punted good. 50% of the time you're gonna get the boot, right? Obviously a very silly guard. So right now I'm on the sign-in page, so it's not a very good test. But if I went to the main page, I would have a 50-50 chance of making it through or not. So if I go to my post, you can see that I lost the 50-50. If I go to all post, must have lost the 50-50. So there my post worked, and all post worked, and my post worked. Oh, this is going to be death. And then there I got the boot. So a very arbitrary guard right here is obviously not what we wanted to do, just kind of getting things started. What we instead want to do is we want to make sure that they're signed in. So we would want to ask the auth service. So we'd say, hey, auth service, are they signed in? So let's go make something on the auth service called is signed in, right? Can't use the auth service until we use dependency injection on it. So we'll say private auth service colon auth service, and then we import that guy. So now we can use the auth service. Of course, we have to say this.auth service. It says is signed in. That doesn't exist yet, so we're going to have to go make that. So let's go over to our auth service. And the way we're going to do it initially here is actually going to be wrong. We're just going to kind of show it to you, right? So here's what I want to do. I want to make a variable called is signed in, which is a Boolean. And instead of making it public, I'm going to make it private because only I can set it, right? So I'm going to say is signed in is true in this case, and then is signed in is false in this case. And then I'm going to make a public getter for it, right? And the way that looks is you say get is signed in. So I better type it. And that's going to return a Boolean. And it's going to return this dot underscore is signed in. This pattern of using underscores is fairly common whenever you just want to make sure that nobody's setting something, but you do want to go ahead and have a public getter for it. So this is going to only let me navigate around if I'm signed in. And this is going to kind of sort of mostly work. So right now if I go to all post, you can see that it's not letting me. If I go to my post, you can see it's not letting me. Now eventually we'll just not show this side nav, but for now it's good for testing that it's here. And then if I sign in, so I just say Fisher DS here, it's going to automatically route me over. I still got that weird bug that I'm pretending to not notice. So now I can go to my post and all post and everything works fine. I can also go over to the sign-in page and it works fine as well. Now the bug that happens is kind of sneaky, and here's the bug. Let's go ahead and well, let's just see it in action first. So let's go ahead and go into my post. Now I'm signed in, so it should be fine. But you'll notice that it punted me, right? So why did it do that? So I was signed in. I'm still signed in. I go to my post, but it punted me. And it doesn't have to be my post. I could also go to the main domain. I am signed in, but it punted me. Now once it punts me, I can go back there just fine. What I'm running into here is I'm running into a race condition. Which is fine. It's just that the way that we did it is we set this variable as true or false, right? So we set it as true or false, but we also were using that variable over here. So let's just go ahead and put in a log. So we'll just say checking the Auth Guard, and then we'll just go ahead and print out the signed in state, right? So we'll just say this dot signed in. So let's go ahead and watch this, and we can see why we've got this one little weird bug. So if I go to the main page, you can see that it says checking the Auth Guard, and it's undefined, so it has no state. And then, like very short after that, it says, oh yeah, he signed in. But you can see the problem is that the Auth Guard is going too early. And so that's a problem. And the way we're going to fix it is by using streams. So if you've done anything with RxJS, this is no shock to you, but my guess is that most of you haven't done anything with RxJS. And what we want to do is we want to return from this can activate, we want to return a stream from here. And that stream is going to be an observable that gives a Boolean. How do we do that? What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to get rid of this variable. So this approach did not work. So I'm just going to get rid of that, and I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to get rid of this down here, and it's all gone. Sometimes, by the way, whenever I do stuff like that, I check it in first just so it's like saved in my history, but I'm not too worried about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an is signed in stream, and this is signed in stream, and this observable is going to fire off a Boolean whenever it fires. It says I don't know what observable is. That's fine. I'll grab it from RxJS. That's fine. And this stream, I'm just going to go ahead and make it in the constructor. The nice thing about streams is you only really have to make them once, so we don't have to use that getter. We'll just make the stream here. And what he's going to be is he's going to be based on the auth state stream. So this will be kind of new, but we're going to say this .afauth.auth state .map. And what this is going to let us do is currently we've got a stream called the auth state stream, and we're going to kind of make like an offshoot stream of that. So we're going to make our own stream, and we're going to use this map function. What the map function does is it takes one stream that fires something, and it converts it into a new stream which fires something different, but they kind of like fire at the same time, right? And actually the map, since it's TypeScript, you can actually say what it's transferring from and to. So it's transferring from something that fires a Firebase.user into something that fires a Boolean. And then what you do is after that, you put a parenthesis. So map is kind of like a function call. And inside this function call, we need a fat arrow function. And the fat arrow function gets whatever the first stream gives you. Streams are tricky, but they're good once you kind of get used to them, right? And so here it's going to pass in a Firebase user. This line is just way too long, so I'm going to try to do something here to get it smaller. And it's complaining. It's probably complaining that I don't actually return a Boolean yet. So if I just return false, they would stop complaining at me. But what we really want to return is we want to return a Boolean based on whether a user exists or not. So really what we want to do is we just want to say user not equal to null, right? You can do null or undefined, they both work. So what this stream is going to do is it's going to just return a true or false, and it's going to fire off whenever somebody's signed in, which is kind of neat. So this is a good first step in that we're using these streams. We're not done yet, but let's go try what we've got here, right? So I'm going to temporarily comment out my old solution. It's still gonna use it, so I'm still gonna kind of keep it around. And for now, I'm just going to return the auth service is signed in stream, right? So it returns true and false successfully. Now the thing that it won't do is there's no router navigation yet. I'll come back to that, right? But what I want to see is, I want to see if it's fixed my bug. So right now I can go to these pages. I could do that before. But the thing I couldn't do before is I couldn't refresh the URL. It would bounce me. And you can see that now it's working, right? So now I went to my post, and I went to localhost, and it didn't have the race condition problem, right? So it waited for the stream to fire. The stream said, yeah, they're signed in, and we fixed the problem. Now the thing we haven't fixed yet is, let's say we're signed out and somebody manually goes to the home URL. They get kind of this user is not signed in. They're kind of in a weird state because they didn't really get bounced, right? So if they go to my post, I guess it did something, but I want them to get bounced as well. So I want to bring back this whole bouncing thing. So what I want to do is I actually want to take the sign-in stream and I want to put a .map on it from Boolean to Boolean. So I'm kind of making another stream, and this other stream is going to get a fat arrow where it's going to get is signed in, which is a Boolean. And ultimately it's just going to return is signed in, but it's going to have an opportunity to bounce people, right? And so it's like if not is signed in, then do the bouncing. And there's the bouncing right there. All right, so now I can actually delete all my commented out stuff. And let's take a look at what we've done here. So I've taken my auth service is signed in stream, and I've done another map on it from Boolean to Boolean. And really the only reason I'm doing the map this time is because I want an opportunity to have some code run, right? So I'm still returning the is signed in stream. I just kind of want an opportunity for side effects. And that's if we're not signed in, I want to do some automatic routing, right? So let's try it out. Right now I'm not signed in. I'm on the sign in page. Everything is fine. If I tried to go over to all post, I would still be on the sign in page. If I tried to go over to my post, I'd still be on the sign in page. If I manually tried to go to this page, you can see that it's not letting me and it's redirecting me. If I tried to go to my post, you can see that it's not letting me and it's redirecting me. So this is what I want. The only thing I want to fix is I don't want to let users even see this menu if they're not signed in. So that's one thing that I want to fix. So pretty happy with what we've got here. So this is a functional Auth Guard. And so you can see in the app, oops, do not want to revert. In the app routing module, we added these can activates over here. In the module, we just made a new provider for the Auth Guard. The Auth Guard is totally new. He's using this is signed in stream, and then over here we made the is signed in stream. So this is a functional Auth Guard. The only thing that I want to do next is not show that hamburger whenever it's not needed. And so where that happens is it happens over in the app component. So I got to find the app component HTML. And right here is that button, right? So this is what's showing that. So what I want to do is I want to only have this button at certain times. So I'm going to add an ngIf on here. And this ngIf is going to be of the auth service .is signed in stream. And we don't want to make it the stream itself. We want to make it the thing that's fired. And the way you do that is you say pipe async. And that kind of sets up a really nice subscription that gets when the thing's fired. So it's the is signed in stream. So what I've got now is it's going to only show it when this is true. I think that's exactly what I want. So let's go see if that's working out. So it says the user is not signed in, and you can see I don't have a hamburger. I can't stop people from typing in URLs, but I mean, I bounce them for that, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and sign in to make sure my hamburger comes back. So here it signed me in and it says main works. Oh, interestingly, my card went away there, so I'm happy about that. And I can go over to my post, and I can go back to all post, and I can click sign out, and my hamburger goes away. So cool, that was actually a really easy fix. And that was just, only show the side nav trigger when appropriate. Cool. Instead of when appropriate, I could have said when signed in. Great, so we're making really good progress on our whole sign-in flow on things. Come back next time, we'll do some more exciting stuff. See you then. Bye.